Welcome to our latest episode of Let's Know Buffalo. I'm Joe Sorrentino. This is Kevin McMullen, and we're here with a true Buffalo sports icon, the former #1 contender for the heavyweight championship of the world. And I just have to preface, boxing, unlike any other sport, is really the only true global sport. When someone wins the Super Bowl, they're the champion of the NFL, not really the world.
They
it's
do
an
say
American,
world champion.
Yeah,
but...
it's an American sport. But in boxing, the world champion truly fights all over the world. And this man was the #1 contender. Very few people can say that. So we're here with Joe Mesi, or as we know him, who watched his career, Baby Joe Mesi. Thank you so much for being here.
Joe, that was great. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. That was
And what I will also like,
a great intro.
I love when they call you Buffalo's third franchise too.
That's a great nickname.
That's
isn't
so
it?
fun.
I can't believe
How cool
that
is that?
stuck. And I can't recall who made that up.
It's got to be your old man, right?
I don't think he's a marketing genius.
That's where I was going with
I
that.
don't think he made that up though. But I'm sure someone's going to kick themselves. That's a great nickname, Buffalo's third franchise. That still has stuck. I'm probably like 9th or 10th these days, but whatever. We'll keep.
Let's say
it.
the Bandits did win a championship last year or something.
Yeah, but whatever. Third franchise has a nice sound to it.
Well, thank you for being on. This is awesome.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
I was able to attend, thanks to you and your wife, at the Buffalo History Museum a few weeks ago, it was just incredible to like hear your story and the background. And you're such an incredible speaker. Joe, where do we want to start?
Well, let's start from the beginning. You're from Tonawanda.
Yeah.
So what was growing up like, and how did you get into boxing?
So boxing, it was an accident. It wasn't an accident in the sense that I'm a third generation boxer. My grandfather, Tom Mesi, boxed. My uncle Russell, my father's brother, boxed. So boxing's in the blood. But because it's in the blood, my brother and I, now there was two of us, just my older brother Tom and I, who were tough kids, good athletes. We loved boxing because we loved hearing their stories. We loved reading their clippings. Now keep in mind, boxing in Buffalo, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, very popular. The Golden Gloves, for example, would sell out War Memorial. Sell it out.
Wow.
Golden Gloves today can't get much of a crowd, but it's still a great title to have. But that's just how the sport was. So we loved reading their clippings. We saw a pair of their gloves. We were always drawn to the sport. I remember in the 80s, as far back as like Ollie Holmes, early 80s, I was just have enough memory that people would come to our house because we love boxing. Never, ever thinking my brother and I would put gloves on to become boxers. But as we got a little older, I don't know if someone bought us boxing gloves for Christmas, and my brother beat me up daily in the basement. And so we started fooling around with it at home in the basement until my mother was like, get out of here. You're beating each other up. Go to a gym, and, you guys are killing each other. So we went to the police athletic league gym, and it snowballed from there. I just never stopped going. It was after high school. So
Really?
I want to say 18.
Wow.
18 was the first time I ever really walked in a boxing gym. Never with the intention of going anywhere with it, but just to have fun, spar, and learn a few things. And we just kind of stayed with it, as a hobby. Still never realizing that it would, then Golden Gloves came around. We got into that, and I won. Surprisingly, I was always shocking myself. Geez, I won that. I won that weekend tournament. I won that. And then I went away to a national tournament thinking I'd lose quickly, and I win it, and I'm like, geez, I can't believe I was always surprising myself, pretty much not knowing who I was fighting. I was so new to the scene in the boxing world that I didn't know anyone. So when I would win these fights, my first national tournament, I want to say it was Lowell, Massachusetts, thinking, my God, they're paying my way, and I get to a hotel, and I have to win 5 fights. I'll be home the first night, but how fun. I get to say I went to a national tournament. And here I am, I'm winning each night. And after they'd raised my hand, I know the crowd, it was almost quiet. And they're like, I'd come out, they go, do you know who you just beat? I'm like, no, I have no idea. Like, that guy's been around for like 5 years. Like, he's tough to beat. I'm like, I don't know who he is.
Wow.
And it's almost better that I didn't, because boxing is such a mental sport.
Yeah.
You'd almost
Way more
psych
mental-
yourself out,
Yeah,
psych,
you
psych
didn't have any
yourself out
fear
beforehand. There was no
opponents.
fear.
You
Yeah.
didn't know who they were.
Right. You don't beat yourself
You just went
up
out there and
before you go into
performed.
the
You
ring.
prepared.
It's a mental sport. It's more than physical. I mean, look at 36 professional fights. I guarantee you more than 30 of them were stronger than I was, were faster, probably more athletic. It's just not the physical sport people think that it is.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So these were amateur tournaments.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to try turning pro?
Well, it's funny. Before the pro thing was the 96 Olympics. Now that's a year and a half away. And my dad starts thinking, geez, you're winning these national tournaments and you're going away on all these national tournaments. Do we start thinking about the Olympics? And it wasn't even a thought. I'm like the U.S. Olympic? Like what? I'm like, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. It's like a year away, year and a half away. Because, yeah, but you got to start grooming now because you have to qualify for the trials. And it was a process. I'm like, yeah, okay, I guess, but it's a long shot. I mean, at the end of the day, I kept going. It was the busiest time of my boxing career. That mid-90s, I was never in Buffalo. I mean, I was always traveling and always training. And, I mean, in the amateur, I fought 90 amateur fights. You're 3, 4, 5 fights a week. You get some rest. You go somewhere else. But I qualified. Went to Oakland for the Olympic trials. Did well, did better than expected, and ended up being the 1996 Olympic alternate, part of the Olympic team.
I had no idea. Wow.
Part of the whole experience. I traveled with the Olympic team for the whole summer, getting them ready for the 96 Olympics in Atlanta, and was in Atlanta. It was the year of the bombing, but I didn't get to compete, but I did compete with all of the other countries' Olympians. Not all of them, but and I did well. So it was probably the highlight of my boxing career. Floyd Mayweather was my teammate. Antonio Tarver, David Reed.
I say that was a stacked
That was
year.
a great Devera Williamson, who we'll talk about. I mean, a lot of great fighters. It was a great year. Only one gold medal, which was David Reed. Floyd Mayweather got robbed.
Right.
Floyd Mayweather got robbed.
So even though you came to the sport late, you got a ton of amateur experience, which is huge because
In
of
a
that.
short period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I was new to this scene, all of these good fighters and names that I was competing against, they had already been there. I was the new guy, and they're like, "Who's this guy? He's making a name for himself and kind of ruining things." And so they didn't want me around, not just the fighters, but the U.S. Boxing Committee, USA Boxing. Like there's USA Gymnastics, there's USA Soccer.
Why do you say that? What is that?
The only thing more political than professional boxing is amateur boxing.
Okay.
Really?
And amateur athletics and the U.S. Olympic Committee. I could probably get in a lot of trouble for that, but I think us people that are naive don't know any better.
Sure.
The Olympic itself, what a great format. I mean, I love it. You're honored to get there, but behind the scenes, I can't imagine what actually takes place. As we're learning in the gymnastics world, it's just it's not a very clean and easy business to be in.
That's so disappointing to hear that the pureness of competition and just does it exist anymore ever?
It is. It is. And we were just I was talking on the radio the other day with David Bellavia. I talk to every Monday morning on 9:30 a.m. WBEN, and we were talking about the NFL and the bad calls, and that's becoming a thing now. And how do we make sports fair?
Right.
But being on the field is one thing. Being off the field, the politics, the things to maneuver, trying to keep people out, that's a real thing. I mean, they did what they could to keep me out of it, but they couldn't because I kept winning in the ring.
That was the one thing you could control.
That's right. That's very true.
Yeah.
And you can't even control that because judges.
Sure. No,
said
that's fair.
Look at
Mayweather.
every fighter in the world. I'll never be caught saying this. Man, I got robbed. I
Right.
got robbed. In the NFL now they're saying, man, if it wasn't for those 3 bad calls, we would have won. I don't want to be that guy.
Right. And that's tough. Yep.
But we are not in a sport where we win by a clock. We win by a judge.
Right.
And so you really got to prove yourself,
And And you can take it out of the judge's hands, which you did
You can.
many times.
You can, but often there's been so many lopsided decisions, even
Oh, it's
recently,
crazy. Oh, it's
that
crazy.
it's discouraging. That, I don't know. I love the sport of boxing so much. I mean, my poor wife has to fall asleep to it 3 nights a week, probably, and she's a great sport about it. I love the sport of boxing because metaphorically, what boxing is to life and why God put me on this path, I learned so much about life at a young age because of boxing.
Yeah.
And it prepared me for life. But it's a terrible business.
So after the Olympics then, what was the mindset there? Did you know right away you want to turn pro?
No, funny, because at the History Museum, Kevin, I told this story. You know, my dad and my grandfather were Buffalo detectives and police. And, I was a young punk. And I'm like in my 20s. And I'm like, yeah, I'll probably just take a plea. I was so flippant. I think we all were then. We're like 19, 20. What do you want to do? I don't know.
Right.
Whatever. To go to college. I don't know.
Right.
I took a police exam, a state police exam, passed it, went away to Albany, did the physical test. I remember I got a letter. They're like, you start, if you want this job, you start the police academy in a few months. I'm like, oh my God, geez, that's stressful. And like, I don't even know if I want to be a cop. And like, my dad goes, yeah, but we got this letter here, but the Olympics is over. Do you want to turn pro? I'm like, geez, I don't know. Like, when I get my butt kicked, you only know what you know. I'm like, I don't really know. Are we going to go for this? What are we going to do? He goes, what if we fight a few times? We just stop. You just say you did it. And as long as you don't get hurt. And I'm like, all right. And I pushed the letter away. I go, I guess let's do it. And the story goes from there. I had my first pro fight in Harlem on the undercard of an HBO card. And I remember how nervous I was. It's really no different, to be honest with you, than amateur, except the headgear.
I was going to say, were you nervous because of the gear change of potential injury?
You make more of it than it is. The headgear doesn't do anything. The headgear does not protect you from head injury.
Right, the impact's still there.
I mean, your brain's still moving, but I don't know, pro athlete, you're fighting this guy looked like he was going to kill me. I don't know. His name was Dwayne Kaysen. God, he was huge. Oh my God, he was ripped. Like I said, it means nothing though, because I got him out in the first round and it was a good victory. And then we said, let's just take it slow. Let's just see what happens. Let's see where this brings me. I was active. When you first turned pro. I needed experience, so we had a lot of 4-round fights, and then we moved up to the 6-round level. And then my dad had the idea, well, let's bring boxing to Buffalo. It made sense. I got a lot of media presence during the Olympics. The news was at my house. I started to do some community work. My dad said, you got to go to Children's Hospital. You got to go to Roswell. You got to go to these functions and I didn't really get why. Now I do. And that's another thing that really helped my maturity and kind of woke me up. And it was not only great marketing selfishly, but it changed my life because I made a lot of great friends. I saw the real reason. I think, God gave me the tool to box. He gave me the gift to box, as we'll talk about later, as my injury comes across. But he gave me the tool to box to help others, and deliver a message, and raise money, and talk to people, and not only for me to learn a lesson, but for other people to learn a lesson. And the timing played a big role in why this happened. I was supposed to fight for heavyweight championship of the world, and I get injured, and why then? I was knocking on the door of 20 years of hard work, but it's all okay because this is my journey. This is my story. This is what God had planned for me. It took me a long time to realize that.
I was going to ask you that because when you're in it, right, and you're only focused on that and what your goal was, and when somebody is taking that, you feel like they're taking that from you, and then now fast forward how many years later you can look back on it, and to hear you speak of that perspective to say, you see it differently now, probably, right? Like
through the journey of being pro, it took a while for me to believe that, man, my first 10 pro fights, I'm like, I'm just doing this to see how far I get.
It seemed more like a hobby still at that point, right?
So it was my life. I would never call it a hobby. I almost take it as an insult because I worked so damn hard. I can't tell you how hard I worked. And
But it sounds like you didn't quite believe yet that you
I
could.
didn't. No.
Be
I
a
was like,
great
listen,
heavyweight.
man, make a few bucks.
Right.
I'll make a few bucks. I could say I was a pro boxer. My dad had a little bit of a plan because my first Buffalo fight was at ECC Bert Flickinger Center. But I said, you got this popularity. You're doing. I was co-hosting AM Buffalo with Linda Pellegrino once a week. I was doing the Variety Club telethon. I think people were realizing, geez, he's pretty good on TV. Elderly people were coming up to me. There's a guy from Channel 4 News. I'm like, I'm the boxer. I'm not no, I'm not. I'm not the TV guy. I'm not the community guy. But I was doing so much community work. My dad's like, let's go. It holds 3,000 people at Bert Flickinger Center. I go, you'll never get 3,000 people there. And we did. We got 3,000 people. And I fought for the New York State heavyweight title there. Anthony T-Bone Green, another huge guy. And there was no TV. It was just a New York State title. And I won. I got 3,000 people. I'm like, that's crazy. I can't believe we did that. And we have a few more fights. And I think then we're like, well, we're going to go to the Niagara Falls Convention Center. The last two events ever hosted there before it came the casino. And I'm like, this can hold 7,000. I go, well, now you're going to embarrass me, Dad. 7,000 people in Niagara Falls. We did 2 fights in a row there. One was TSN, Canadian Sports. One was ESPN. Both sold 7,000 seats.
That's incredible.
With Alan Tremblay, who was our promoter. He's a Canadian promoter, great guy. Like, oh my God, this is really getting kind of out of hand. Now I'm going to get beat up and lose one of these fights in front of my neighbors and friends. And he's like, where do we go now? Now I'm still fighting and traveling. Because I trained in Buffalo when it was warm, but I trained in Puerto Rico and Houston. I was still doing a lot of traveling. And my dad says, our goal is to bring boxing back to Buffalo. Boxing has fizzled, as I explained earlier. There were some great boxers, and Buffalo has rich history. 6 world champions. It was a great fighters came from Buffalo back in the day. I mean, since the 70s, 80s, not really. But my brother Tom was an incredible fighter. And he's okay that I say this. He tells me all the time, he's like, he's more talented. Because I could never do what you did. It's okay. I could never have done what you did and done the work. And I had to work hard because I didn't know what I was doing. I really was a beginner boxer.
Right.
And I really had to work hard. There's no choice.
Right.
I mean, but I learned a lot about myself as a person, as a real shy, chubby young kid. I was quiet. I knew I wasn't a good athlete. I was tough, and there's a difference. You know, my brother's a good athlete. I was just tough. It's not the same. But the toughness is what you need in this sport. So as we're climbing the ranks, I guess, as a professional, and my dad goes, now we're going to UB Alumni Arena, which some people tell me to this day was the loudest and funnest event. Sugar Ray Leonard was my promoter.
Was that on ESPN, that fight?
Yeah. 10,000 people. I go, 10,000 people? My God. That was the loudest event. I think I told the story that the ring announcer's in the middle of the ring and the fighter, Keith McKnight and I are in the corners and they're announcing us, but I couldn't hear him say my name. And I remember looking at Keith and going, is he announcing me or is he announcing? It was so loud. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
That is such a testament, as you were saying earlier to me. That's a testament to Buffalo and the people here, because we see some of the best fighters in the world go to their hometown and they don't sell tickets. And here you're an up-and-coming heavyweight and selling out tickets, selling more tickets than household names in the sport yet. Incredible.
It's gotten a little crazy today, but in 2002, 3, and 4, 20,000 people was insane.
Yeah.
You know, you could watch the fights at Mandalay Bay and MGM Grand. It holds about 15, 17. Those are big, huge fights we're all used to. A guy up and coming in his hometown to sell 20,000
was unheard
that only
of.
happened in England.
Yeah,
Dubai doesn't happen here.
It's unheard of.
And it's not a credit to boxing or me. I will always have gratitude and always say that Western New York and Buffalo has its problems, don't get me wrong, but it is the greatest place in the world.
Yeah.
It is the greatest people. I love the Four Seasons. The people here, I owe them, and I'll forever owe them And that's why, as much as I do love to travel, and I've traveled the world thanks to boxing, this will always be my home.
I love the network and the connections around here, right? Just the 1 degree of separation. You know, it's funny. My friends joke with me, they're like, "Oh, you got a guy for everything." I'm like, yeah, like I'm proud. Like
Yeah.
I love to network and know people, and I love the 4 seasons too. I just wish that spring started
Well,
in March.
I'm a skier, and even for a skier, March 1st, it could just stop.
when it's snowing in
Stop
June, it's
right
like,
there.
come on, give up.
You know what's great about? We're talking almost 20 years ago was my height, and when I was number 1 in the world, and I'm in medical device sales, and my boss, this was a different boss, mine a few years ago, and he came in. He lived in another state. He was the boss of our region, and we were friends. But he spent a couple of days with me doing the ride along. And as I'm walking throughout the community, I'm walking at a gas station. He's walking with me, and people are just going, "Hi, Joe. Hey, Baby Joe. Hey, Joe." I think I brought him to a bank to run an errand. I think I and walked to the hospitals because I'm in the OR. And people going, and at the end of the 3 days together, he goes, "Did you know everyone?" I go, "Did you know that guy?" I go, "No, I don't know him." He goes, "But it just rolls off your shoulder. Like these people are just, they just say hi to you." I go, "Yeah, I guess you're right." I go, "People just know me. I'm all around. I am Buffalo. I am around this community, and people will just. It's no big deal for me. Hey, Joe. Hey, Joe.
Right.
Baby Joe. Hey, Joe." And he found it weird. And I'm like, I guess you're right. I mean, I guess I'm saying hi a lot, no matter. Hey, Joe. Hey, that's not me.
Right.
That's the community. It's amazing. Like they just want to. Hey, Joe, and they have a story about those fight nights or about, I hear stories all the time, and I never realized how good it would make me feel these years later, how much I would appreciate that.
Well, and just the amount of people that grew up with you, right? Like, and as we get older, right? Like,
Yeah.
you say 20 years, like it goes by like that, right? And you think about, my wife's not from Buffalo. So, she's only been here just over 11, 12 years. So, the height of the Bills, the height of the Sabres, like she just doesn't understand that. And when I tell her how great the run that the Sabres had and the bars were filled and the people cheering and, again, same with you, like you were always on TV and you were this and that. And she didn't know who you were because she's not from here.
Sure.
But like you say, like the
It's that
community,
hometown feel. We really support our own. And it's not like, and people that are curious, well, what if you go to another state? I go, you have to be a really big boxing fan in Ohio. So now I go to my conventions in Vegas a couple times a year. In Vegas, it's a boxing world. It's a whole platform. And so people might say something, but if I go to a boxing dinner or boxing event or boxing show, there's a lot of fans there and people, but these people aren't my fan because of boxing, really. I think they appreciate that I've given back to the community. I know they know that I appreciate what they've given to me. And that's why forever, to this day, I will be active in this community. I consider myself an ambassador to Western New York. I still speak at schools. I don't care how far away from boxing I get. I filmed the dentist commercial last week. I still am involved, and I still want to be involved. And that's why I'll never leave, because this is the greatest place in the world, and I have a lot of work to do to repay back these fans. Now, after my injury and those couple of years where I was in a legal battle and I was stagnant, I wasn't allowed to fight. I was blackballed from the sport. It was about 2.5-year legal battle. I was a little younger and less mature and punkish and kind of like, I didn't have a family. I didn't have my wife. And I'm thinking, why me? Why me? Why me? Why me? My injury right now, they're trying to blackball me from a sport. And they found out about my injury illegally, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was depressed. And coincidentally, that was the time I started to gain, like, I don't know if I'll be heavyweight champion of the world. I really don't. But damn it, I know I want to fight for the heavyweight championship of the world.
That, for the people that don't know about your injury, it came at a time where you were climbing the ranks in the heavyweight division. You're main eventing fights on HBO, and you're fighting in Madison Square Garden against Vasily Girov, and you win a fight to cement yourself as the number one contender. And the next logical fight is you're now going to fight for the heavyweight championship of the world. Everything you've worked for your entire adult life to this point was just like what you said. You get to test yourself against the clear best fighter in the world. And the rug was pulled out from under you, and you didn't get that opportunity. So
win or lose, I always just wanted to. There are 4 guys that I fought, I can name them, that I've either won a world championship or fought for a world championship. I never got that opportunity. Win or lose, I would have just been. I could remember sitting in my kitchen talking to my mom and dad and like fighting for the heavyweight. Like, I'll turn pro. I just want the opportunity. I know Vladimir Klitschko was champion a lot during my career. Funny story is in '96, if I was the Olympian, I was the alternate, I would have drawn him for his fight. He would have kicked my butt. I was not ready because he drew Kleebe, my buddy, and he beat Kleebe pretty bad. Now he's gone. I just wanted the opportunity. Vitaly, I always thought would have whooped me. I always wanted to fight Vladimir. I think I would have given him my best. He might have knocked me into the 3rd row, but Lamont Brewster beat him, and I sparred Lamont Brewster, and I used to take it to Lamont really, really, really easily. Lamont's a great guy, but like, what does that mean? Nothing in the boxing world. But like, I have that to think about. My next fight was Klitschko. We said to the Klitschkos, come to Buffalo. They said, we're not coming to Buffalo. That's ridiculous. We're the world heavyweight champion. Like, we were cocky. Come to Buffalo. Because I'm the heavyweight champion. Never coming to Buffalo, ever. Not even to visit. And he's like,
Niagara Falls.
Yeah. I'm like, we have Falls, Chippewa. I mean, we have a lot of great. And like, you got to come here. And I could tell you, like, I think it was like $1.2 million. I would have went there. I would have got my butt kicked. Who knows? Come back with half that money. And like, I got a phone call from Tyson camp, and like, well, what about this? He'll always be there, and they offered you what? They offered $1 million. Why doesn't Mike come to Buffalo? Well, he'll come to Buffalo. I go, really? So we went to Russ Brandon. My dad said, we can't do that HSBC arena. You've outgrown that. I go, you were right all the other times, is we need 50,000 seats. We'll put a drape, and we need 50,000 seats. And for Mike or Klitschko. And Mike said, now keep in mind, this is not 1990 Mike. This is not 1996 Mike. This is 2005 hangover Mike. Okay, right. This is not this. Right. That Mike, we wouldn't be having this discussion. Be like, no, right. I don't want to do it. Yeah. But it's overweight. Mike, he was kind of depressed. He was not in the best. He was looking for money. Now he's very successful. I'm happy for Mike. I'm a huge fan, and he's a friend of mine. But I'm like, yeah, I mean, he just lost 2 fights. He gave up, like, and he needs money. And like, he's like, yeah, 50-50. And we talked to Russ Brandon. We almost had that in place. And I would have loved that. I would have loved to have had that opportunity. But right at that time, almost that week, was when the injury came out and the Nevada State Supreme Court battle started. And I didn't know that if you had a brain bleed, you were blackballed. You can't box ever again. You can't go to another state. And it's a good rule. But rules need to be changed in the sport.
So you mentioned being depressed. Like, to me, that's everyone struggles and they go through ups and downs in their life. This was your career and you made it to the top. And to have that happen at that time, how did you mentally handle that and get past that?
It took time. After all of the poor behavior, like, I was just, I was like, I had a lot of free time. Like, I wasn't training. I wasn't,
How old were you at that time? Do you remember?
2005, 6. I was 32 or 3. It's kind of my prime years too.
Sure. Taken from you.
And it was a lot of trips to Nevada. We'd have to go back to Nevada for Supreme Court. There was some dialogue and doctors talking, and we argued it as like, we can't take my right away. First of all, you found out the injury illegally. There's a whole backstory to that. Come to find out all these years later, with some maturity, with some therapy, with the help of my best friend and my wife, Michelle, who is my best friend, with just realizing this is my journey. We all have a journey. We all have a book. We all have a journey, and it's okay. But at the time of it, I was like, well, what am I going to do with my life?
That was your identity.
I didn't plan for this. I didn't plan. Where's that letter for the state police? I didn't plan for that. I'm like, what? What am I going to do that I love? And I kind of got spoiled a little bit, and was being limousines and being treated like in a great way. And but you also have to look at it as if it happened for a reason. I mean, when I remember being bedside at Buffalo General with my mother, who's now not with us, and I kind of remember her about a week before she passed. I didn't know she was going to pass, but she was kind of like, you're going to do it, but promise me you don't get hurt. Promise me you don't get hurt. Well, I got hurt, but maybe thanks to her, I didn't get seriously hurt because I could have. If my injury wasn't identified, and it almost wasn't, I was going to fight somebody in 60, 70, 80 days. That would not have been good. Those injuries take a long time to heal. And if I had to go back to sparring, it might have happened in the gym. Who knows? Like I would have had 5 days off, 10 days off. I would have been back. I don't know. So there's no accidents here. Everything happened the way it should have happened. Like it or not, ups and downs, depressed, happy, it happened the way it was supposed to happen.
And when you're in the weeds of that and it's happening to you, and you're probably not thinking clearly, you say, why
so hard
me?
to accept.
You can't look back on it and say that was supposed to happen. Why? I don't know why. I'm not supposed to know why. I'm just supposed to pick up and learn from it.
I think so many people need to hear things like that because people become attached to what they thought their journey was going to be. And that isn't the same as what your journey is sometimes. And you have to detach from that because that's just not the cards somebody was dealt.
That's right. That's right. And if you don't, learn how to overcome setbacks. Some are career-ending setbacks. Some are small setbacks. You're going to lose people along the way. You can't, it's not your job to know why. It's just your job to learn from it and get stronger. And I love people like that get stronger and better after resolving the issue and overcoming that setback. It's people that don't. They dwell too long or they get worse and they go down. You haven't learned. The tough people, when you're in the ring, get hurt and confused. And it's such an awesome sport. And you're just, this morning I was watching Manny Pacquiao video and I'm like, man, this guy, it looks like he's in trouble in the corner. Didn't happen often, but I could tell because I know what I'm looking at, how he got out of this and how he got better. That's life. You got to figure out a strategy. I'm not saying don't mourn. I know we all get hurt. I'm not saying don't pout and it's going to happen, but damn it, there's got to come a time where it's time to get up.
Yeah.
It's time to get up. And I often say in that Giraffe fight, I don't remember, but I'm told I was knocked down 5 times. And damn it, I got up every time. I'm not saying I can't be beat as a fighter or knocked out. Anyone could. But just give me a little bit of will, just a little bit of strength. A guy told me once in a hospital, I sell medical devices. I'm walking through and he goes, hey, man, I've always wanted to run into you. That whole head injury, if no one ever found out about that head injury or you just kept it to yourself and you just, you didn't, even if you lost that fight, you would have come back, worked your way back up, and you would have got that title shot. And he ruined my day. I left that guy. I was like, damn, he's right. I'm like, man, I definitely would have got my title shot, But screw that. I'm 36-0 and I'm never staying down. And I got up every time. And I've seen that video a handful of times. I'm like, and that 4th, 5th, 6th knock, I'm like, geez, I don't know. Why am I getting up? I spit my mouthpiece out. I'm like, I'm bleeding. I'm like, why am I even getting up? And not to brag, but that's just how.
You can't teach that. That was your instinct to just keep fighting back.
It isn't the beating I could give. It's the beating I could take. And I don't mean that in the ring. There's really not much that I can't do. And I don't mean to say that. There's really not much that I can't accomplish. You want me on your team.
Sure.
Well, you think that instinct to keep getting up and keep moving forward, is that something truly instinctful, or
It's kind of stupidity, some people say. You could call it that.
did you learn that from, was there something that happened early
That's
in
always
life?
been
or-
in me. As I look back, I didn't know it as a kid. I guess I did. Now that I look back, I'm like, man, I was not a quitter. Talent is so unimportant and boring. Talent means nothing to me because everybody has something. We all have a talent. How many people have talent that should be in the NBA? How many
Right.
people have talent that should be physicians? How many people have talent and smarts that could be an awesome actor on the stage and on Broadway? How many people have talent that could be a great entrepreneur? Yeah, it happens less. It happens less than we think. I mean,
Yeah.
talent doesn't scare me. We all have it. Identify your talent. You've only done a third of the battle. I mean, now put it together. Now work hard. Now make a plan. That's the challenge. Now get over all the humps that you're going to face. Talent is nothing. I had no talent. I had a great coach. I had a great team around me. And that's all of the things that you have to put together. I mean, talent is a joke. I mean, talent's boring.
I'm so glad you say that because I think that's something a super important like life lesson, right? Like if we're pulling things from this, and anybody can ask me, and I will tell them I never was the most athletic, I never was the smartest, and what I lacked, I made up in just I'm going to outwork you, right? Not enough talent, not enough money in the bank, not enough support, like whatever that was that I lacked, I just knew that whether it was my heart or my dedication, I was going to outwork you in whatever I did. And to this day, and the things that I'm not good at, I will hire out, right? Like, and you recognize your downfalls is huge. And the older you get, the ability to recognize some of that stuff is super important. And that's why you become more successful, I think, is when you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm not good at that.
Well, like you said, you had the team around you. You had the work ethic. You had the
Putting the right people in place. I
Yeah.
knew I got to the level of boxing, for example, and I need a new coach. And I found my coach Juan De Leon, and he's the greatest coach in the world, I think. And I knew I had a good manager in my father, police officer. He was the marketing guy. He doesn't know anything about boxing, and he'll tell you, I don't know anything about boxing, but I'm going to bring this product to Buffalo because we are selling something. I mean, at the end of the day, just not forget boxing. We're selling something. If we don't have Buffalo, I'm an everyday fighter fighting for everyday money. I would have to sign with Don King, which I was almost forced to. I didn't do it. And at one point in my career, like every other heavyweight contender before me, that was dumped to the curb, literally and figuratively, maybe homeless today. Once on top of the world, you're forgotten about. But I had people that care about me and sold a product and not, signing your life away. And at one point, I don't care who you are, at one point, Don King didn't care about Mike Tyson either. Mike wasn't bringing the money. So at one point, I had the right people around me. Often does have to be family. It doesn't always have to be. But it goes for entrepreneurs. You see these great entrepreneurs. Most of them don't have college backgrounds. Most of them,
Right.
I wouldn't call them the smartest guys. No offense. But
It's real.
kidding. I'm
no,
kidding.
I mean, I
Because
was never book smart.
it's an
right?
idea and putting a plan together, getting the right people around you, and then to top it off, work ethic. It's work ethic. I mean, I always tell myself, you don't look like it now because I'm 30 pounds overweight, but I tell you, I can't tell you how hard I worked. I had no choice. There was no faking it. I had no choice but to work hard.
I think that's one of the common things we find talking to people is most successful people were not good students. And I know for me, like, I knew I had to work harder because things didn't come easy. and probably very similar to what you're saying in the gym, right? Somebody who's just really athletic and talented, that's great. But you being forced to work harder, you brought something more to the table. And again, that's just parallel to everything in life, those lessons that you learn in the gym there.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, there are more stories of people walking this planet saying, man, I could have and should have been in the NFL. I could have and should. I was this close. I could have and should have. Man, you know the talent? Yeah, I know you're talented. You were amazing in high school and college. But I could have and should. How many people, even if it's for 3-4 seasons, get into the NFL, for example, they made it. There are more people walking the earth saying, man, no, I could have, no. I mean, and I love the entrepreneurial lifestyle opportunities today, because when we were children, and how old you guys are, we don't really, not that we didn't have them, but there are more opportunities today.
It was definitely different. Like there was no internet, right?
Definitely
like cell
different.
phones and the contact and just the connection,
the networking and the way to, but like, in the 80s and 90s, you had to go to college, and that's how we were raised. Nothing against college at all. I think it's the biggest ripoff in the U.S. history. In fact, it's gotten to be.
And I think some of that's coming to light lately, right?
Yeah, and not in the sense that, I love college. It's a great experience for people. And if you're going to be a physician, a lawyer, engineer, and God bless, you got to go to college. I'm not hiring an engineer that didn't. You got to go to college. But the United States and Congress should do something, because it's embarrassing to get a $60,000 a year teaching job and all 150 or 200 grand. It doesn't make sense. It's criminal. So it's criminal. So something has to be done.
I'll tell you what was bizarre about that whole situation is how easy it is to sign and get a student loan and just max out hundreds of thousands of dollars. And when I was a young entrepreneur going to the bank trying to get money to start a business or prove that I've already got a business going, and they literally laughed me out of the bank. Like, just was not happening.
Right. The people that want to do better and give back to their communities, and they're making tons of interest on you. Come across that border though, and pay interest. You're going to get everything free. But anyway, that's
maxing out credit cards to start early on, right?
And make it so easy to get so much in debt.
I have a good friend that flipped the house the other day in North Buffalo. This was dilapidated. He made it beautiful. I'm talking now on Sanders, St. Lawrence in North Buffalo. His house are $300,000. I told my wife, I go, what young mid-20s, upper 20s, maybe as an infant, was affording? That's a starter house.
Yeah, man.
I built my house in 2004, not that long ago, but it was just a different world. At grocery, I'm thinking, how do young families start today? But because the $100,000 a year is the old $40,000-$50,000.
Yeah, it's completely different.
You have to make 100. Like, it's kind of a shame, but I love the opportunities that kids have today. I'm going to tell you another story. I have a special needs son, Joseph. He's 11. He's wonderful. And he's in the BOCES program. We're in Williamsville, and we're blessed. I'm learning more from him than I could ever teach him. My oldest daughter, 26, I had a plumbing issue because I have a friend who's going to call him. Here's his number. I said, okay, you don't mind? He's like, no, he'll come. The guy came right over. He goes, hey, listen, he's got some special needs. I go, okay, well, great. And whatever. We're in the garage, and my son is in the garage playing, and I'm watching him work. And he notices my son has some special needs. He goes, hey, he's talking to Joseph, my son. And they're talking, interacting. And he goes, no. And he goes, well, Mr. Mesi, I was part of the BOCES program myself. And I go, well, that's great. He's part of the program too. We got high hopes. I go, no, that's great. So you got your van out there? He goes, well, I have 2 vans. I'm a plumber. I have 2 vans, and I have a few people working for me. And I go, geez, make sure you give me your number, because I'm gonna spread your number around and get you some business. He goes, no, my God. I have 2. I have so much business. Right. Because I honestly don't even do that. I have so much business right now. I'm working 24 hours. And I'm thinking, well, not only a credit to the BOCES program, but a credit to this young man.
Yeah.
I took a loan out for a van. He's killing it.
Right.
This guy's killing it.
Right.
And I'm saying he's working hard, but I got 2 vehicles right now. I got a staff of 3. And this, I mean, college, this guy's
Right.
doing great.
Yeah, the lack of attention on the trades
Yeah.
for a long time is now showing up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And it's 15, 20, 30 years later. Right. And now we've
Yeah.
almost got to go in reverse where
Yeah.
it's like,
And it's a shame to go into deeper that they don't teach you what you need to. This poor guy's running his business. I don't remember being taught how to write a check
Right.
and manage money. The importance, not that history and
oh, but you also say why? Why weren't I taught these life skills?
I don't know. I never
Write
did
a check
I never
and
did
balance a
calculus.
book.
I know you don't do calculus. You got a calculator for what? I never did calculus, statistics, all that stuff. I'm never did all that, but they need to teach more real life entrepreneurial things that we might need to know. You know,
And just sheer survival skills.
Right.
Right. Like,
right?
you know,
And
there's
that-
something to be said between common sense and book smarts,
Mm-hmm.
right? I never had the book smarts. I feel like I strive and I do very well with just sheer common sense.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, they say common sense isn't so common all the time.
They should teach more business. I had to learn business I learned a lot through sometimes people don't have life experience like I have. I know I'm blessed to have it, but traveling and being in the boxing business and world, I learned a lot, and I have a lot of life experience. I have quite a decent resume, and did go to college. But after my boxing career was over, still confused on what I'm going to do, I fell into medical device sales, and not knowing that. I always like, I don't like salespeople. I always thought like, I don't want to, I think about a car salesman, and I'm like, I don't know. I was naive back then. It was a different time. And I'm like, two good friends of mine talked me into taking this opportunity in an interview with Stryker. Stryker's $1 billion, very popular medical device company. And did the interview. I enjoyed the process. And then it kind of saved my life in a sense. I don't want to say saved my life. That's strong, but like, gave me purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
And realized, geez, sales, not exactly entrepreneurial. I do work for someone, but sales is so strong.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be salesy. Know your device.
And that's the part of
Know your
of
product.
sales I don't like is the salesy. Like I could smell your bullshit from a mile away. No offense. Like you come to me and you're trying to jam. Literally before we got on this podcast, I got a window sales guy at my door. I'm talking to him on the Ring camera, and I'm just rolling my eyes listening to his
Now, because we're kind of in sales, you identify it quickly when someone's trying to
100%,
do it
yeah.
to you and trying too hard. But mine is unique. I'm only calling on a handful of doctors, and now I love it because now I'm in the operating room. Surprisingly, I'm so into the anatomy. I love the human body. I love the anatomy. I feel like, man, I feel like I could have been a doctor. Now I was too immature then, but like I just love it that much. I don't know if I want to forfeit my life growing up like to be that. My daughter's a physician assistant, and I even talked to her out of it. I could be a physician assistant. Don't be a doctor. But I just love it, and it's not really selling when you do love it, and when you do know your product and do know your competitors. It's not really selling, and it just gave me purpose, and I enjoy it, and it's how I'm feeding my family now. But sales also gives me the time and opportunity to explore the other things I'm interested in,
right.
where other jobs wouldn't allow me to do that, you know?
I think one of the key things you mentioned was there was an opportunity. You know, your livelihood was taken away from you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many people who, like we said, they'll dwell on things too long and think to themselves, well, I loved this and I can't do this, so I'm going to have to wait till I find something else that I love. And opportunity may be right there and they just don't take it. And that's one of the things, you know, you can love something that you don't even know yet, but if you try and you give it some effort and you become good at it, you could fall in love with that thing.
Well, some things happen accidentally.
Right.
I didn't know I'd like sales. I didn't know I was going to be a
But you took the
decent
opportunity.
boxer. Some things happen accidentally, and that was God's path. But some things, you know, we are the writers and authors of our own books.
Right.
So you can't wait.
Exactly.
We make our own path.
Yeah.
our
You
own-
took
to a
when
certain extent.
opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, you took
There's
it.
people that grab it and go with it. And then there's other people that just let it walk right on by and second guess and think it's going to be too hard or too stressful or,
If we only knew our own potential, and I don't mean this physically, but mentally, emotionally, if we only knew it. There's a movie called Facing the Giants. It's kind of a religious movie. And if there's a scene, you guys can pull it up. I recommend you YouTubing it, 2 minutes long. And the football coach is trying to instill into their kids when you put the guy on your back and do the crawls, and you crawl. And they used to always go 15, 20 yards and give up. And he says, look, I just want to know what you guys really have in you. We could beat this team. You guys don't, you guys are scared of their reputation. He goes, come here, I'm going to blindfold you, two guys, and he's just going to do the drill. Like, oh, we don't want to do the drill. And he gets on his back and he does it, and he gets in his face and he's screaming, come on, go. Long story short, he goes, it's very emotional scene. He goes the whole distance of the field because he didn't know. None of us, we're not supposed to. We don't know the ability that we have.
And how far
we
you
just
can
don't
push it,
know.
Sure.
I mean, we have no idea. We can do that extra set. We always have one more in us. So you can push harder. You can push, but it's so much easier not to. We all have the ability to do something great, and if we all could realize that, the world will be a different place. But I've been blessed enough to at least know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all have it in us. It's not the talent that gets us there. It's the will and the ability and the work ethic.
Well, I think that's something that's interesting that you say about yourself. Like even in this conversation, you said, "Oh, I wasn't the fastest or the strongest," but you were mentally tough, and you weren't going to give up, and you were going to outwork, and that is. I don't care if it's boxing or sales or the NFL, whatever it is, or just life, right? I don't want to get too deep into that, but it's
important. I think
there's a common theme that when we talk to entrepreneurs and successful people, no matter what their background is, it all comes to a head somewhere. And it's that, right?
I think you gotta be a beast. You don't have to be, I have one religion, and it's kindness. I love being kind. I love giving back. And no one will ever, ever see my beast, my inner beast, unless you hurt my family. No one's ever going to see it. Maybe they got to see it back 20 years ago when I was in the ring, but you have to have that in you.
Yeah.
Doesn't make you a bad person. Doesn't make you mean. Doesn't make you ugly. Doesn't make you have to have that. In business, especially, when you're competing, when you're growing as a human, when you're overcoming setbacks, if you're in a sports, whatever, you have to, it doesn't make you bad. I mean, just because you don't see the beast doesn't mean it isn't there.
Sure.
I'm the kindest, soft-spokenest guy in the world. And I think if you were to talk to any of my schoolmates in elementary school, middle school, high school, I was very underdeveloped, cute, soft-spoken, had the older brother who was popular. They pinched my cheeks. I'm always curious, how did they watch me on ESPN all those years? How did they watch me? They're like, Joe's a professional boxer and he's winning.
I find that
how I've talked to a few, my reunion, I went to high school. I'm because I was traveling so much. I'm like, this is gonna be fun and interesting. How did you how you were the chubby, how you were so nice.
That's fascinating to me when you grow up and you become an adult, and when I say an adult, 20s and 30s, become yourself, right? You became Baby Joe Mesi, the boxer. And for me, when I run into a kid from high school or middle school, I know that I've done well for myself. I sometimes immediately almost shrivel back up into that middle school kid.
You go back to,
and I lose that confidence that I now gained, right, from having some success. And it's strange, the mental, but afterwards I'm like, oh, I've done something. I don't need to feel that way. I don't need to feel like the nerdy kid that was unpopular, but
I think it's natural.
It's natural. So strange. And for me, it's I don't want to go to a high school reunion. I don't want to go to a middle school reunion. I don't want to feel like I felt like.
I went to my brother. My brother was good athlete, popular, good looking kid. And I think we were at Amherst Pizza now. It's kind of a sweet home hangout. He goes back there and like, man, they're all about Tom. And I'm like, I was the like I was the one on HBO. Like, what is that? Everyone's like, Tom. Like, I immediately went back there, like pinching my cheeks and stuff. But
Yeah,
That's
but also
hilarious.
you got some
That
beer
keeps
hanging
you
on the
grounded.
wall over there, dude.
But
I've
being
been there plenty enough.
like it's a weapon. You have to have that like inner beast. You have to. You're a businessman.
have
You
to.
got things to overcome, and you got to
Yeah.
get ticked off and get pissed. And I'm not a business. My wife Michelle is actually better at business. There's selling and there's business. I could sell, but the business, no, I would put that in her hands. But I have to be a little bit today. Yeah, I have an employer and I'm in medical sales, but you know, I also keep my own. I speak at schools. I do speaking events. I told you I did a TV commercial. I might be bringing boxing to the area.
So I guess that's another question. How are you still involved in the sport, right? Do you have any involvement, or is
Good
it just kind
question.
of like it's a love that you have, and now you like to watch from the sidelines a little bit, or you doing it?
As I mentioned earlier, I love the sport, but I don't like the business. And speaking of business, I have people that are like, Joe, why afterwards your career didn't you immediately open a boxing gym? Why didn't you immediately get involved into family fitness? Why didn't you manage fighters? I mean, how are you not involved in the sport? I think after all of that I went through and seeing the ugly side of it, I never loved the business side of boxing. It's terrible. It's ugly. It needs to be changed. I'm an advocate for the safety of fighters, and I'm an advocate for changing the fact it's not a governed sport. It's not the National Football League, National Basketball. This is run by promoters.
Right.
And athletic state commissions, which are just as political and make up
Right.
their rule. It needs a governing body. I don't like, could I profit from it? I could have become wealthy being involved. I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
And to some extent, I still don't want to be. I love talking about it. I love what it's given me. I mean, I love what it's done for me. I don't want to hang my hat on it. I love that people call me Baby Joe. I love Third Franchise. I love they want to talk about it. That's awesome. But I'm a professional athlete. Most professional football players play 3 seasons. They don't have good post lives.
Right.
Yeah, like it hurt. A lot of them get hurt, and that doesn't lead to a good path. And depression, and like I could have been. What am I going to do now? And a lot of them come into medical sales. A lot of former athletes, but I don't want to. I love what boxing gave me. I really do, and what it made me. But I'm not. I have more to offer. So some people might call it stupid that I didn't get into boxing. I still might, though. If I am involved with boxing, I have a couple projects I'm working on right now.
Wait, are we about to announce a comeback?
The comeback is not happening.
Right here?
Although I'm surprised, a lot of 50-years are coming back, but that's not going to happen for me. But as
What
a
was
cou-
that, like celebrity boxing or something they had a while ago on like MTV?
I mean, it's funny. You think you could still, God forbid if I got into shape, you always think you still have a little left, but
Michelle, I'm just kidding. He's not. We're joking. It's a joke.
It would
I'll
never
stop
happen.
right
It would
there.
never happen. But I would like to promote. If I could bring, I don't want to like a cigar. Nothing's wrong with that. That's how I started, a cigar club, community center type fight. Everyone starts out. If I could get, ESPN has expressed interest and gotten a hold of me. They want to come back to Buffalo. I'm not going to fight, but they want a world class, maybe a world title fight to happen
Sure.
here, showcase some young talent. I love 2 things. I love boxing and Buffalo. So for me to get involved, I'm not going to have a gym. I'm not going to have a fitness center. I'm not going to manage fighters. Fighters are tough. I'm not going to, but I would promote. I don't want to be Don King. I would bring.
No, but when the
I would bring
opportunity
some
presents
boxing.
itself, and
Now there's also another opportunity I'm working on with some friends. Boxing gym. No, I don't want a boxing gym, but I do love the community. I do love the kids of this community, the people that are underprivileged. I have visited a place in Detroit, and it's called Downtown Boxing Gym Detroit. I might do the same idea here, Downtown Boxing Gym in Buffalo, where it's more of an after-school summer program for kids, underprivileged kids. Yes, boxing is involved, again, metaphorically. 'Cause I
Right.
wanna
But it's
teach
everything
these
else
kids,
behind
there's
the scenes.
tutoring.
Yeah.
There's learn how to podcast. There's going to be some music. There's going to be some therapy. You get your 15 minutes talk, and we're going to treat every kid in a unique way. What is his weakness? Because these kids are in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. They're not reading at that level. So we'll work on that. But it is going to be funded by the community. We'll get some grants, and I love that aspect. Yeah, we'll teach the kids boxing. It's like I said earlier.
It would be so needed
Every
here.
kid needs to get in the ring once,
Yeah.
just once. Every kid should learn self-defense. It's the best fitness in the world.
Sure.
But it's books before boxing. It'll be books before boxing. And I think we're in the beginning stages, and we should be announcing that, but it was the first time I've talked about it. But, so downtown boxing gym, Buffalo, it might have a couple locations, and that is how my involvement will be.
Very cool.
That is
super interesting.
really exciting.
Yeah.
We're out of time here. Is there anything you want to plug before we go?
Not really. I'm always available to talk on shows. I'm always available to public speak. I speak at a lot of schools. I travel and public speak. I talk about head injuries. I talk about being a professional athlete that was injured. I talk about motivating. I talk about overcoming setbacks. I'm creating a website right now, but people get a hold of me on my LinkedIn page is like my email. I get more messages through LinkedIn or from my Instagram page at Baby Joe. So, but other than that, the other involvement, my father's got Parkinson's. My father, my manager, my grandmother had it. My new passion is boxing and Parkinson's. Those two go hand in hand. They need these Parkinson's patients to be active and continue moving. My father goes to the Jewish Community Center on North Forest Road, and my brother is one of the only local credentialed certified Parkinson's coaches.
Wow.
Former 2-time Golden Gloves champion. So he's one of the coaches there and gets these people, a big room of patients with Parkinson's. So we're having a little involvement doing that. So we've got our hands in a little bit of everything, but that's all. Just continue to stay active in this community.
Well, thank you for being here. And
I'm glad you're ours,
Yes.
meaning ours, Buffalo.
Thank you. I have to talk to you guys about getting into real estate. That's not my forte, but I think I'm ready to so I'll talk to you guys afterwards. And
we're always ready for that.
yeah,
That's one thing we can talk about is real estate.
Thank you, Joe.
Good.
Thank you so much.
So appreciate you
Thank you
being
both.
on. I feel like we could talk for another 2 hours, but that is episode number 6 of Let's Know Buffalo, and we'll wrap this up.